Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. We are joined tonight by a good friend of the program, Corey from the Phoenix Enigma. Corey is a researcher of incredible caliber, and I asked him to come on the show tonight because he has done the absolute most exhaustive research when it comes to the investigation of Isaac Kappy's death. I know that's something that we've talked about here on the program many times, and I have been looking to do a follow-up on this. I wanted to do it with a certain amount of grace that would necessitate a subject of this magnitude and someone personally who meant a lot to me. So I am very, very grateful to invite Corey on the program. Corey, thank you so much for being here, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so very much for the invitation. It is a pleasure to be here.
No problem. Well, I just wanted to say before we get started, I do have a super chat. I got to say thank you to Jeff Stewart, Where We Go One, We Go All. Thank you so much. And then also Infidel Green from last night. I see that personal message for Severe. I'll let him know. Corey, we've got lots of people from all over the country, all over the globe. A couple people here from Australia. I see Gainesville, Florida. People nearly escaped that hurricane, so that is really, really excellent. Ohio, Brandon, Mississippi, and people that are here for the Phoenix Enigma. My mother says hello to the Phoenix Enigma.
Hey, Mom.
Oh, Corey. Well, again, thank you for being here. So basically, for anybody who is with us tonight that is not familiar with your work, why don't you give us an introduction to who you are?
All right. I'm from Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a Phoenician, third generation raised. Born here in the Valley. I moved out to the western part of the state and cowboyed for a few years out there and ran the family business. My father's in the gas station. We owned the gas station, C-stores and everything. Okay. Moved back to Phoenix about 2005 and worked in the company. We lost everything back in 10 and had to start over. Got into the hospitality industry, was concierging in the hotels in Scottsdale, and then I went into guiding. I figured, why can I wear a suit and tie when I just get back to my roots? And I love botany and I love ancient history. And I started guiding. And about that time, I started studying the ancient Native Americans, Southwestern cultures. The other half of my work that we're not going to talk about tonight is the ancient esoteric history of the American Southwest, specifically my pocket in Phoenix, Arizona, where we get into basically the website is Masonic and secret society influence as the pioneers moved west, garnered the resources of the new West and built them into their own infrastructure and still maintain and work control from those positions today. Wow. That's how I got into all this. Along the way, a couple years ago, I began de-occulting. I am an occultist. I studied the occult for 20 years. I was a practicing occultist for quite a while. Ritual work, ceremonial work. I get it. I know how it's done. I know why it's done. I study the physics behind it. I understand the real energy work behind what we commonly refer to as witchcraft or spell work. It's about energy. You can boil it all down to physics. I began looking at the mass shootings, at the events taking place. 9/11, as you know, was everyone's red pill, right? We can look at our life as post 9/11 and pre 9/11 if you're of our age. And then I just started de-occulting things they went along. The Vegas shooting was by far my moment when I woke up. There was another radio announcer who left a very huge radio show, Coast to Coast AM, and he went on and did his own thing. And he was an inspiration for me. It was John B. Wells. And he went on, he put his money where his mouth was. He put his heart where his mouth was. And he did the right thing. And he said on one of his radio shows one night, he says, if you're out there, this is entertainment, people. We have work to do. Take that step and do it. And I say, you know what? I'm going to do that. And I started up my YouTube channel. I've been writing for years. And I just started putting everything into article form and talking to the people out there. And I grew slowly at first. About probably last year sometime, I went from 2,500 subscribers on my YouTube channel to about 23,000 in about a 1 week period. I had I covered the Golden Globes, the Ortolan bird, and I de-occulted the ritual and the similitudes between that whole deal. If you go onto my YouTube channel, you find it there in the top ones. It's at 307,000 views or something like that.
Oh, wow.
At that point, the whole Kappy thing exploded a few months later, and here we are. So.
Good stuff. Well, I think it's safe to say that because of your proximity to Isaac's death, that really helped you out a lot in terms of your investigation, your ability to investigate.
Sure.
So, what was, you said that, I'm sorry, you said it was the Vegas incident, that was your real wake-up moment?
Yeah.
Now, what was it about that? Just because, I mean, was it the fact that you saw things because of your history with the occult or researching this stuff? Or was it just, what was it exactly?
So when you get into the Vegas deal, the first people to, let me pull it up here. The first people to, like, we're all talking about Route 91 Harvest Festival, right? Mm-hmm. And on October 1st, there's 91 days left in the year. Everyone's like, that's kind of weird, right? And I start running the numbers on it. And when you find out that Route 91, 9 plus 1 is 10, and this is basic numerology. I'm going to assume that your listening audience has some basic knowledge of what we're talking about here if they're listening to the show. This event occurred on the harvest month of October, which is the 10th month, right? Mm-hmm. There were 910 casualties, 59 dead and 851 injured, which comes out to 9 plus 1 is 10. It happened in October 10, on the 1st, 10 mirrored. In 2017, 2 plus 1 plus 7 is 10. 3 sets of 10.
Wow.
Right? So you got your Masonic 3 and you got your 10, 10, 10, which then you boil that down. You got 3, which is 3 and 3, 33 there as well. And I'm seeing this ritual numerical scripting, and they use that for the vibrational foundation of these spells. It goes on. There are 91 days left in the year on October 10th, right? Or October 1st, which is 1 plus 10. 1 plus 9 is 10.
Yep.
It happened on the 10th day of Muharram, known as the Day of Ashura. And the Day of Ashura is Ashura means 10th in Arabic. And as you know, if you put an Arabic calendar up against Gregorian calendar, it floats, right? Because we don't have the same amount of days in the year.
Right.
Like once every 1,400 years, the Day of Ashura lines up with October 1st.
Wow.
It just happens to be 10th on that day. It has the day of bloodletting. That's what it means. And if you remember, the early reports during that, like the first or second day, was that there was a bunch of Islamic ISIS propaganda in the room.
Right.
It happened in Nevada. Nevada was founded as a state. It was ratified in 1864. 1 plus 8 plus 6 plus 4 is 10. It happened in front of the Luxor Hotel. It had 10 letters. The zip code, 89119. 28. 2 plus 8 is 10. The Luxor Hotel has 4,407 rooms, of which 442 of them are suites. That's exactly 10.02% of the rooms in the Luxor Hotel are suites.
Wow.
It has events and shows, the Blue Man Group, the Bodies exhibit, open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. down below. The Luxor Hotel, by the way, if anyone doesn't know, is the brightest light on planet Earth that shines from Earth into anywhere. It's the brightest light on Earth. And these killing fields, this ritual, the sacrifice happened in a field, in front of an obelisk, in front of a sphinx, in front of a pyramid. 32nd floor in Gematria comes out to 91, right? For the full, it's a full reduction. If you look at the pyramid of Kukulkan, pyramid of Kukulkan has 4 sides with 91 steps on each side, right? And second, there's 364 plus the top one for 365 days of the year in the Mayan calendar. It happened, Stephen Paddock. 6 plus 4, 64 years old. He was 10. The guy who investigated, the head FBI agent in charge, Aaron Rouse, or Roos, I want to pronounce his name, right? 10 letters. Jason Aldean, or Aldean. He's a third degree master mason, I believe of the Scottish race, not York. I think he's Scottish. And he was playing on the third night. And the shooting happened between 10:05 and 10:15 for exactly 10 minutes, right?
Right.
Jason Aldean had the tattoo of the Jack and the Ace on his arm, which is the 10 and the 1. So, which is the date of the shooting, 10-1, is the tattoo on his arm under the black sun of Saturn. He was playing on the third night. So you add all this together.
What are the odds?
What are the odds? You know, when you're an occultist, I'm an ex-practicing occultist, and today I consider myself to be an occultist. I understand the occult. I study the history of it. I don't get into the boring history of who's who, but I know the foundations of it and the mechanics of it. And I de-occult. I put these mechanics to the modern day events, and I just deconstruct them, or I de-engineer them. So, yeah, it's fascinating stuff, and I love doing it. And I do it in an effort to wake people up, because how we're gonna beat this game is we're gonna take back the power. You know, there's a reason why they tell us that Latin is a dead language. You know, they don't want us to know what they're talking about. It's a dead language, but doctors talk in Latin, right? And judges, the legal system is all Latin, right? The most important professions in earth are all in Latin, and they tell us not to learn it. The Pope talks in Latin, right? He speaks in Latin.
Yeah.
It's a magical language. These people go to these Ivy Leagues, the people that maintain the power and the structure in this world, and they learn these ancient arts. They learn this ancient science. All of our modern day sciences are predicated upon this ancient knowledge called the occult, and the occult means hidden, and it's hidden from us. So
exactly.
My job is to, I feel, to bring it forward and do my best to deconstruct and begin teaching people. And after we start doing this, we need to take back our symbols, man. That's my big thing. I like taking back our symbols, you know?
I'm a big fan of that myself. You know, I'm wearing one of my my hoodies here, and many people were upset that I had a triangle, you know, on my on this shirt, you know? And I mean, just because it's a triangle doesn't mean that it's some type of nefarious thing, you know? Like people they take it a little bit too far, but you know, everything that you just said there is absolutely incredible. And I think that it's very important that you specify, you know, exactly what is the occult, because I think a lot of people hear that word and they immediately think, you know, that you're worshiping Satan. You know, this is evil. You know, you're practicing witchcraft. But it's the understanding of the hidden. And if it's hidden from us, then the science, it's been said, would be indistinguishable from magic if we didn't understand it. And I think that that's a great point that you made, that this is an actual science here. Now, what is the significance of the numbers? Like, why do they do it like this, with these numbers hidden inside of each of these rituals?
That's a huge question, as you know.
Yeah.
It's a question that nobody has been able to answer perfectly. There's a couple of theories, suggestions. I did a radio show 2 nights ago. We did 3 hours on this topic alone, and there's a couple. I boiled it down to a couple possibilities. And if I don't know something, I'm going to tell you I don't know for sure, but I have a pretty good idea.
Let's speculate. Yeah,
let's speculate here. My thoughts are: there's one of 3 things going on here. Either you have this super secret, all-powerful cabal that's wielding all this power and can perfectly execute the ritual of the Las Vegas shooting that I just described. Mm-hmm. That's one hell of a scripting. Mm-hmm. Making sure everything goes down just like it does at the right time. And I didn't even get into the dates on that and stuff. I don't know about that. That would be that'd be one hell of an undertaking. I kind of lean more towards theory 2, which is that Pythagoras said all is number. And the question is, did humans invent numbers, or did we discover numbers? And if you go to the best mathematicians and listen to their talks, they'll tell you the answer is both and neither. They don't know, but they think. They just don't understand numbers. But what we do is we utilize numbers, and there are patterns within numbers. And some people say, well, it's because we gave them those patterns when we developed. And they said, no, those patterns are here. The numbers are representing. We use them to represent the physical world, and we give them meaning, true, but then when you put them together, the formula, they form a shadow or an interpretation of the unseen dimensions that we know are there. For instance, our eyes see like almost 0.05% of the available light spectrum, right? Our bodies are not equipped to see the other microwaves and infrared and all those other spectrums, right?
Right.
UV, we can't see it. Our ears hear even less of the compressed air. Our noses aren't nearly as good as a dog's, right, or a cat's. Right. So we're in these biological prisons, and numbers represent what we know is there, what we can now see with machines that we've invented and pulled from the ground. That's magic, man. That's magic. If there's no difference from Merlin or a wizard or a magic man, hundreds of years ago in a castle somewhere, funded by the king, mixing sulfur and trying to transmute lead into gold and working with his calendars and the astrology. There's no difference between that and some guy at MIT working in a room on a DARPA-funded project funded by the U.S. government, bending space and time and light to weaponize sound.
Yeah.
It's
You're right.
the same thing.
Yeah.
And people like to look at that as science, and the other thing is magic. But when in actuality, all the original scientists were highly religious, and they were all practicing occultists from the mystery schools of Pythagoras all the way back into ancient Egypt and before into Samaria. So people like to divide science and magic when it really is the same thing. And most occultists and people in our field understand this at this point. So numbers represent this world that's unseen, and we have discovered the patterns. And by utilizing these numbers in these events, we can begin to nudge our reality utilizing the vibrational frequency of resonance, okay? That's the other theory. A third theory, a buddy of mine, he's an evangelical Christian. He came to me and we got a bottle of rum one night, and he said, Corey, I think these numbers that you're always going on about, I think they're the shadow from the other side. I think the real world is happening over there, and there's gods and demons and whatever fighting, and it's manifesting here in this reality, and we're seeing that shadow, and you're tracking it through those numbers. That's what he kind of put forth there. So those are some thoughts on it. I don't, like I say, you can't prove it. We can't prove any of it, but as an occultist, I do see those patterns, and theory 2 is kind of where I lean at this point, but we'll see what I think in 10 years, Wow. We all get smarter and learn more.
That's just fascinating, Corey. Well, so obviously we were here to talk specifically about the Isaac Kappy investigation, and I know that you have found a ton of coincidences along these same lines in your investigation of what happened to Isaac Kappy. So, I mean, one of the biggest questions, one of the most frequently asked questions that I hear is Isaac actually even dead? Did he fake his own death? And I know that you have taken this investigation from day one until, the conclusion, gathering as much evidence as you can. What do you think? What do you think is going on here? Do you think Isaac is here? Did he fake his own death? Did he go into witness protection? Or is he gone?
Not only have I taken it from day one, we'll talk about this later if you want, but I was there day one.
Yeah.
That's nothing to brag about, but the fact is I was there at that scene day one at 9:25 a.m. That's how I ended up making that first video about that.
Yeah.
And of course, detractors and the LARPers and the trolls will say any and everything. I'm a shill and a CIA and all that crap. But I really was there. I was on a tour from Flagstaff to the Grand Canyon. So I've been there from day one. I think he is dead.
Okay.
I do. I probably know more about Isaac Kappy than I know about my best friend at this point in my life. I want to make it clear that I have been studying, researching, interviewing, comparing this information since the 14th of May. And I've been at this 10 to 12 hours a day with very few days off. I took about a month off. Well, 3 weeks for a tour last month, but this is all I've been doing. The work will be coming out very soon here. All my information, everything will be coming out next week, I'm thinking.
All right. And just for people in the audience, let's just be very clear about that. You are taking all of your evidence, your investigative materials, absolutely everything that you've uncovered since day one, and you're going to be releasing it to the public so people can take that information, make their own informed decision about their opinion, and then we can have even more dialogue about it, anywhere that people want. Yep.
Interviews, PDFs, files, records, phone calls, audio, video, every document I've collected, all of it, commentary, analysis, it will all be there for everyone. And those who have been talking their trash and those who have been trolling, they can eat their crow at that point. This never was a personal thing with me. There's nothing to war. I was asked to do this investigation and I gave someone my word. And, being Irish, when you give someone your word, man, that's it.
Yeah.
And I will have seen this thing through by next week. That's where I'm at. So I do believe Isaac has passed. I've spoken to somebody who watched him fall. Spoken to him. I had an 1.5 hour long conversation with the man. He explained to me exactly what he saw, exactly how he fell, and exactly what it looked like when the vehicle ran him over when he was standing 12 feet away. He explained exactly what he was doing at the time and exactly how long it took for everyone to show up. Explained what he looked like on the ground, the wounds, everything. Okay. So yeah. And he was there until they removed him and took him away.
Wow.
It's pretty conclusive at this point. There was some speculation early on. I was asked to get into this because day 1 or day 2 after my video came out, there was questions. Someone said, "Hey, I saw your video today and no one's talking. No one's saying anything. Like there's a media blackout on this. There's nobody up there. It's in a rural part of Arizona and you were there." And I said, "I'll do my best." And that's when I started going up and talking and asking. I had somebody along the course of this investigation call me, and I'm sure you've heard about it. She claimed to talk to Isaac later that evening. Mm-hmm. She was so sure. She called me crying. Okay. I did a pre-interview with her for about 2 hours. I talked to her. I felt her out. I checked her background. I know who she is. I checked her history. I checked out what she said and the things that she had done. She was a real person. She wasn't, and I've maintained a dialogue with her. I talked to her last week. She's a great person. She actually called me back a few weeks ago and said, Corey, I guess I didn't talk to him. I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, I just have no evidence." I said, "Well, did you or not?" She said, "I did, but there's no evidence." I said, "Well, only you can decide." She said, I know it was Monday because my husband was walking home. I was on the porch. She maintains that. She's doubting herself because of all the backlash, and she watches videos and hears the comments, reads the comments, and she was crying. She's not long for this world. She's sick. And she's got nothing to lose. She's asked for no money. She's asked to maintain her anonymity. It was one of those more stranger aspects of this investigation because she absolutely believes what she says.
Right.
And, sometimes that's enough. So I put that out there. I figured if someone is saying that, whether it's true or not, it needs to come out. Nathan at Lift the Veil, he'd been notified of her, I think about a month prior. He'd been sitting on that and he didn't want to put her on for credibility reasons. And my thought on the process was, if someone is saying this, whether they're telling the truth or whether they're lying or whether there's something in there that we can work with later, or whether they expose themselves as a liar and discredit, then we can backtrack that and reverse engineer where that came from and those connections. We get closer to the truth by hearing it, by vetting it out.
Yeah.
That was my thought process. No stone unturned, dig in all the way to the bottom. Like every other aspect of this investigation, I tracked everything down to the nth degree, every person I could call. So, there is no answer for that. That's what she said. I let her have her voice and the platform, and we've moved on. Could it be that he contacted from the other side? I tend to believe that things like that have happened in the past. I know this isn't a ghost show. But I don't know, man. That's what she said, and I figured I'd put it out there. So people have wanted to use that to detract that I was LARPing and going for clicks and eyeballs and being insensitive. It was nothing like that. That right there was my thought process on it, and that's what I did. So.
No, I totally understand it, and I think that it was more responsible of you to put that out there, along with everything else that you've come across, because you're not deciding for the people out here who are interested in finding out what happened to Isaac. You're not deciding for them, what's true and what's not, what's worthy of their attention. You've put out absolutely everything that you've come across. And let's see, somebody is just saying something if you want to ask him those questions. I don't know what that's in reference to. We will have an opportunity, everyone, to ask questions of Corey here at a certain point. We're going to get through some of these other things that I've got prepped up here. But, in your first video, you talked about immediately Isaac's death having these same hallmarks of being an occult ritual. What can you tell us about that? I mean, what did you see initially? Was it, again, the numbers?
Yeah, it was numbers.
Okay.
We'll start from the beginning here. Not only that, there was ritualistic similitude going on there, but it was pointed out early on that the date that Isaac died on, May 13th. Okay, May 13th is the 133rd day of the year, at 7:22 in the morning. And I want to make a clarification because someone did bring this up, and there was a good point, and I've not made this clarification public yet, but I keep saying 7:22 in the morning. That's when the ritual that took place where Isaac died began. Mm-hmm. And I say it began because when you go, did you watch the video I released 2 weeks ago of Isaac on the bridge from the patrol dash cam video? I
did, actually, and I was going to pull that up while we were talking. So sure. I'm gonna, you guys, just want to let everyone know that what we're going to play here is dash cam video, and this is from a guard from the military base. Is that right?
Yeah, he is a off-duty Camp Navajo security patrolman coming to work in the morning in his private vehicle on that dash cam. He was westbound on I-40, pulls off the 185 overpass and turns left, which would be south, crossing the Transwestern Bridge, and that's where you see Isaac up there on the right-hand side.
All right, you guys, so that everyone knows, there's nothing graphic in this video, but we are going to see Isaac sitting on the bridge. Now, one of the things that I saw people saying about this video was that the artifacts in the video, or perhaps the positioning of Isaac in the video, it looked like it was doctored, that he had been put in there. But when we talked about that, you mentioned the fact that this is a wide-angle lens, so as the camera goes by on either the left or the right-hand side, there is a bit of distortion that happens, and there.
When the vehicle turns left, when it makes that left right there,
yep.
You can see the light pole bending.
Yep. Right?
Yep. When it gets really close to Isaac, you can see his back elongating.
Yep.
Kind of curving a little bit. So that's from the fisheye. But if you back up a little bit, there is some artifacts. We've blown it up. We farmed it out to 8chan. Shout out to 8chaners out there, you guys, you diligent, crazy folks. Love what you guys do. And they, I had a couple of them come back and say, it doesn't appear that anything's been layered in it. It does appear, however, that there might be an artifact when it turns. Mm-hmm. And it could be that there's a cut there, a splice there. That's not definitive at this point.
Okay.
That may be, we need to get that verified further on. But the person who looked at that said that looks like it could be a cut right there when he makes the left turn. That being said, you don't see Isaac move at all.
No.
Also, there is no other person in that video in which to gauge it. There's no anything other in that video. There's no movement in that video as it crosses the bridge. Isaac, I think it ramps up on for 6-7 seconds. You don't see him blink. You don't see his hand move. You don't see anything move, like he's asleep,
or already dead.
That's when I released that video. I released it out there and I waited. I wanted to see what everyone thought. And 90%, maybe, you can go through the comments. Someone can find out the number. It feels like 90% of people said that was spliced. Everyone's saying that. When you blow up Isaac there is some smearing, fogging around the immediate body.
Yeah.
However, I don't have anyone who has come back and definitively told me. So that's where that stands as of now.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, so he was there, and you see the timestamp.
Yep.
20 and 32 seconds to 33.
That's right. I've got it pulled up right here. Yep.
Okay. Well, it was the first call came in at 911 at 7:24, I believe it was, or 7:25. I think it's 7:24 if I remember right. It was right after that patrol person came by there, within a minute or two, that Isaac began acting erratic. And I've spoken to people on that bridge that were there, and they said he was acting erratic. He was going crazy. Looked like he was trying to jump, but came back. He was facing forward. I got people telling me that he looked like he was doing everything but cartwheels. I said, well, how can that be? Because 2 minutes before, he's sitting there damn near asleep, meditating, looking into the sun. They said, oh, no, that video that you showed there, he said, that ain't what I saw when I went on that bridge. That's why I stopped. And he was acting crazy.
For how long? How long was he up there acting crazy?
Well, that's just it. We don't know. Okay. The timeline is that the night manager saw him at 7:11 when he left work. That's what he said on the recorded audio, which gives Isaac 9 minutes to walk over and get in position. It's a 4-minute walk, according to Google Maps. You can probably run there in less than a minute if you jog. It's just across it's right there. The overpass is like right next to the hotel. Mm-hmm. So within 9 minutes, he went over there and sat down and got in a meditative, calm position with his eyes closed and his mouth kind of open, looking like he's already passed.
Yeah.
And 2 minutes later, he's acting erratic and crazy. I mean, I got all the witness reports here. I have even more dialogue, from conversations I had. But
I just want to say we've got a lot of people who are saying, that it's BS. That these are lies that we're telling. I just want to reiterate for everyone that what we are putting forth tonight, this is Corey's investigation. This is the sum total of everything that he's discovered over the course of the last several months. We're not making any judgment calls about anything other than the fact that people have told him things. We have evidence that's been given by the authorities. And I'll be the first to say that this video with Isaac on it, something to me doesn't look right. Okay. Right. But I have seen the photos myself. Okay. Corey has the crime scene photos. I think that is probably the most compelling evidence for Isaac's no longer being alive. And I just want everybody to keep an open mind. It gives me no pleasure to report that Isaac is dead. This is a difficult subject for me. I don't want to report that. I want to report that he's alive and that everything's going to be okay. But we have to show what the evidence has brought up, and that's the only thing that we can do.
There's no lie here. That video footage that you're playing right now, that came from the Coconino County Sheriff's Department. That's where it came from. I think another person ordered as well. They have it there. So that's a real video that's really out there. If you doubt it, call the Coconino County Sheriff's Department and order the video for yourself. And then when you get it, you can see it. That's not a lie. That's a real video. It's not a lie to say that he looks like he's already passed, because everyone go into the comment section of the video, or anyone else on the internet, and everyone's saying that, right? It's not a lie to say these things. You may not like what you're hearing. You may have your own theory. Right. You may have your own theory to defend in your own narrative that you're scripting. But what we're talking about are the objective facts about what I have found. This is not my opinion. Okay. It's not my opinion that I talked to somebody and he said, yeah, I saw Isaac fall backwards and I ran down the hill and watched him get run over 12 feet away. And then blah, 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 blah. Here's what happened. That's not a lie. I had that conversation, right? The LARPers out there, and my God, they're out there. My God, man, the trolls are, it's got to be, and I've avoided talking about this too much. It's got to be disinformation agents. It has to be. I don't know how people can just do and say those things that they do, so organized and so consorted. But they do. And we can talk about them later. I have no problem calling them out. But yeah, so if you don't like what I'm saying, do your own research, man. Do your own research, and I guarantee you will come to what I am saying right now. So we're going to talk about some of these things. You ready for the numbers?
Now, with regard to all of the witnesses that you've spoken to, how many witnesses did you speak with that had some part to play in Isaac's final days?
10.
Okay, all right. Were you actually able to speak to the driver of this vehicle with the dash cam?
No.
No.
I did not speak to him.
Okay, all right.
No, I did not.
I
spoke to the driver who ran over Isaac, though.
What did he have to say?
It was bizarre. He said something that didn't match up to anything anybody had said. It's been quite a point of bizarreness that if I would have left out and not talked about it, people wouldn't question my credibility as much. But it was one of those things that was said to me that I said to myself, this is what happened, and I'm going to bring it forward, and we're going to talk about it. I have him on tape. I recorded our phone call. He said, I've told the story before. I've made a couple of videos about it. In our initial conversation, about a week after the event, I called him. I was in my Jeep and I pulled over when he called me back. I was going to the bank, and he had said that he was driving in the right-hand lane. 2 vehicles were in front of him. They moved to the left, and he saw what looked like to be a bunch of like 18 people or so standing up on the bridge waving. And he said he didn't notice at first because he was looking up, but then he saw a piece of cardboard laying in the road. And he said it was too late to like swerve because he said I drive a big truck that was jacked up, and I would have swerved, I would have rolled. And he says I just went right over it. And I said, over. He goes, yeah, I thought there was a protest going on. They dropped a sign. He said, that's what I thought at first. But then when I went over it, I thought it was, quote unquote, a box of kittens. It felt like I ran over a box of something small. I said, what happened? Did you hit your brakes? He goes, no, I didn't lock up. I just went over it. And that jives exactly what the eyewitness told me, that he said when Isaac was run over, his body did not move. His body, it might have moved like a few inches or a foot. It did not move from where it was.
Wow.
And I have talked to 2 people that have told me that same thing. Isaac's body position did not move. He said he pulled over. He said, I pulled over. I just slowed down, and I was right about to where the on-ramp met the highway. So it was way up there, and I walked back. When I walked back there was a woman, and she was pulling the cardboard back over the body. And I didn't know what it was. I had to walk up to it, and I saw a leg sticking out, and I realized I'd run somebody over.
Oh, gosh.
That's what the guy told me. And I reported that as he told me that. And I was called a liar. I was called a LARPer. I was called everything under the sun. I said, no, that's what the guy told me. I got him on tape after these records came out. And I got them from the Department of Public Safety, as well as the coroner's office, there's toxicology, and the Department of and the sheriff's office. I got all those records, and I read his actual statement on here that he wrote down in his own words. He don't mention cardboard. So I called him back, and I talked to him, and I said, hey, it's Corey again, man. What you said before ain't jiving up with what I'm reading here. What do you want to correct your statement? You mentioned cardboard last time. He's like, yeah, that's right. That's right. There's cardboard. I said, there's cardboard over the body when I ran it over. He doubled down on it. So I've asked every other witness that was there as well. They said no. A guy told me I saw him fall. I saw him fall backwards. I went down the dirt embankment. My eyes were on him the entire time. It wasn't more than a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes before he got struck. There was no time to find cardboard, nowhere to put cardboard. Yet I got this guy on tape, and I'm going to release that. And people have heard it. You can go to my YouTube and you can play it. It's about a 4-minute audio. That's what he told me. It was weird. It was really bizarre.
That is bizarre.
Everyone says that he was completely distraught. He was totally affected by it. And, you know, one of the theories that I tend to believe is that his mind put that there as a protective mechanism.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. That does make a lot of sense. People still, every day I get emails saying, what if they just put his body in a cardboard box and pushed him over? Because that's what I originally thought when I heard this guy talking. You know, that's what, in that moment, you know, a week and a half after this event, that's what came to my mind. Because obviously, you know, he thought he was going to die. He thought people were going to kill him. He said on his last night that he was contacted by the Trump administration. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff I've come out and talked about.
He was contacted by the Trump administration?
Yeah.
Because of this incident with Isaac Kappy?
Isaac Kappy was contacted by the Trump administration.
I apologize. I thought you said the man who ran over him.
No. This guy, he got angry at me after my second call with him, and he told me I had to lose the number and not call him back again. But no, Isaac had mentioned that he was, he said that they're going to tear me limb from limb for what I did.
Right.
And he said, I'm not suicidal, but the alternative is, but that is better than the alternative. And he said that to a couple people the last couple of days.
I heard that. Yeah. Now, real quick, I just need to say thank you to a couple of people, and then I want to get into that Judas statement. Okay, so thank you very much to Roger Sloan checking in from South Carolina. Look, thanks for all your hard work and dedication. Thank you, Roger, for that super chat. Kirk Wasson just got here, but this info is particularly groundbreaking. Announcing a release date is risky. Make sure he has his bases covered. Corey, I'm sure that you got your security well in hand. Thank you, Kirk, for your concern. Tanette Booth, does he know what he did? What was he sorry about? We're going to get into that right now. Let's see. And M. Biggs, Red Pill 78, serving up more food for thought. And thank you very much. Charlemagne Marino, thanks, Red Pill from Las Vegas. God bless you and your daughter. Thank you very much for that. Eminem says it's clear Kappy was in a battle in his mind. I hope he found Jesus before he left this planet. He did, and we're going to talk about this in depth. Also filled with hope said, we didn't learn as much as we have from Q by having closed minds. Yeah, excellent. This is fascinating. You are sharing pieces of a puzzle that you have learned. Maybe one day we will see the puzzle piece together. Thank you for asking the questions. Well, thank you for that as well. So let's talk about
can we real quick before we get there, can we cover the numerology first? And then move on to more concrete?
Please, let's do it.
Yeah, just because this is foundational. This is what really drew me as an occultist into this here. All right, so Isaac died on May 13th at 7:22 a.m. in the morning, okay? May 13th is the 133rd day of the year, all right? If you take that 133 and you got 13 and you got a 33 both in that number, and that is the York and the Scottish Rites of Freemasonry. I find Masonic numerology, or numerology which is used heavily by the Masons, in all of my de-occulting. Nipsey Hussle is like huge. If you go through my Nipsey Hussle work, from the place he died to all of it. 1333 was on the license plate of Eric Holder, the guy that shot Nipsey Hussle. There. So yet 72 days prior to Isaac's death was March 3rd, or 33. And 72 is a foundational number. It's a number for Earth. You see the 72 written into all these spells, these public rituals as well. It factored very heavily into the Vegas shooting, where you can go read all that. But yeah, 72 days prior was March 3rd. And by the way, on March 3rd, there's 303 days left in the year, or 33 again.
Yep.
All right. So you got that 3313 connection. The Trans-Western Bridge went through a reconstruction on August 20th. Okay. It's exactly 100 days after the event. 100 days between May 13th and when the Arizona Department of Transportation tore up the top of that bridge and the railings and made it wider and did some overpass stuff right there. Okay. And I go through the numerology on the website here, but on that day, on August 20th, there are 133 days left in the year. Can't make this up, man.
There you go. Yet again.
Yeah. There's 122 days before May 13th and September 11th. September 11th, as you know, ritualistically, not the event, but that date and why that date was chosen for the paradigm shift. 122 days is exactly 3 months plus 30 days, or 3. Again, 122 is also 33% of the year, right? Isaac died on Route 66. Literally. He fell onto Route 66 and died, okay? The father of Route 66 was Cyrus Avery. Cyrus Avery was a member of the Masonic Lodge in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 32nd degree Scottish Rite Freemason. Route 66 is 2,448 miles long. You convert those miles to Scottish miles, and you got 2,171.5765 miles. You divide that by 66, and you get 32.90. Or
33.
the closest you can get to a Scottish Rite 33rd degree Mason without being a Mason. And as you know, most people know listening here, that cannot be earned. It is bestowed upon you by the Grand Council.
Right.
Go back to that video you just watched right there. Kappy on the bridge.
Got it.
When that goes by him on that counter, it is 7:20:32. So last you see him, 7:20:32.
Mm-hmm.
The time on that video changes from 32 to 33.
Yep.
That's not a coincidence, in my mind anyway. Not with everything else that was going on here. These are what we call, this is the numerological foundation which gets written into these public rituals. I believe that, what day did Isaac come out with his first video? Remember?
No, I don't know off the top of my head.
It was July 22nd at 1:33 in the afternoon at the Comic-Con.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So July 22nd, which is 7:22 at 1:33 in the afternoon. Isaac died on the 133rd day of the year at 7:22 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what you have there is reversal, full hermetic reversal. That's powerful, man. That seals. That's a message. That's a signature. Kappy died for coming out and talking about the pedophile networks and calling out Seth Green, Tom Hanks, Claire, Spielberg, and the other ones, all of them.
Right.
What's the odds Kappy died at the time and location that's a reversal of the time and location that he came out at?
I would imagine it's astronomical.
Astronomical is right, sir.
Yep.
This is what got me in here, and this is why I couldn't let this go. 100 days between Isaac's death and the bridge reconstruction is 8,640,000 seconds. Well, 864 is the sun. That's the number of the sun, right? 864,000 miles across in diameter.
Okay.
It's exactly 144,000 minutes. Where else 144,000? The Bible, right?
Oh, yeah.
The chosen, the anointed.
Yep.
There's exactly 100 days, 14 weeks, 2 days, 27% of the year. So all those numbers right there, and I list them all out. All those numbers all this work will be coming out here soon, next week, are magical numbers or used in reference to religion and theology. There's biblical references in there with the 144. And look at Kappy. He was wearing all white. Right? He's wearing a white shirt. Well, looks like he's wearing a white shirt. In the camera footage that I tracked down from the Love's gas station, Williams, Arizona. I obtained Kappy's credit card statements early on. And basically, I tracked down the date where he was at and the time he left California. And I knew how long it took to get to Belmont when he got there based on a phone call. So those charges on his credit card, I knew where he stopped. I knew the gas stations where he stopped because that's my run.
Right.
I know Route 66 I-40 like the back of my hand. So I knew where he was stopping at. And I called him up. I used to own gas stations, right? I had 18 gas stations with my dad. Mm-hmm. And I went in there. I said, hey, I need you to pull the records, if you would, please, on a purchase for this dollar amount, roughly about this time. Can you sync the video up with that? And, of course, all cash registers, there's a barcode system in there that actually syncs up the video with the actual sales. So you can type in all the sales in the computer, and, boom, the video pops up for it. So I knew that they had that tech. And I said, I'm looking for a guy in white on white about this time. They said, yep, dude, he was in 30 seconds when he said he was here. I said, can you burn that off for me? So that's where I got those photos of him walking into the Love Station with the white shirt and the white pants.
Right.
White is used in ritual. Masons dress everyone up in white.
White apron, yeah.
Jesus is always portrayed in white. Sacrifices are everyone else is in there, in a satanic ritual. They got their black and their red on, right? The head guy in red and the rest in black. But the sacrifice, that's in white because white is pure. White is the purity. Look on the Nipsey Hussle material for the brochures that they published, right? He was all in white with angel wings, right? And he was at the, what was the, on top of my head here, it was the, where they did the big funeral for him, the memorial over there.
Okay.
Anyway, it looks like a big old eye from the sky. And It was on the Mount of Olives. The name of that place is like the Mount of Olives, where he ascended, where Jesus was. So there's ritualistic similitude written into these murders, sacrifices, and the aftermath, especially the aftermath, because, you know, like any ritual work, the ritual itself is the execution of the intent and sending it forth. You have to back it up in the real world. And in modern day world, that's done with media. That's done with propaganda. That's done with the mainstream news networks that get into your mind. It's done through memorials. Building a memorial is nothing more than building an altar where people can come and feel horrible and negative and dump that energy out so they can keep feeding on it. I hate memorials.
Wow.
I despise them. So he was all in white for this thing. How many people walk around in all white?
No.
They don't, you know? If you look at Isaac, the way he's sitting on the bridge there, and then pull up an image of the Shroud of Turin, Isaac looks identical.
I can see that. I can see that similarity.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mormons, you know, they have their magic white underwear, right? And of course they have that because Joseph Smith was a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason, right? Or
Yes.
Brigham Young was it. So you see a lot of ritualistic similitude. The Egyptians sacrificed people. They'd be wearing white. The Aztecs, wore white. So because it is pure. And in every culture, sacrifices wear white. So yeah, that's right there is the ritualistic aspects of this, not including the Judas prophecy.
Well, let's talk about that. Because that was a big part of Isaac's final Periscope, him saying that he was like literally the reincarnation of Judas Iscariot. I think many people thought that was a very strange thing for him to say. You know, he said that he had essentially committed treason, you know, going against President Trump, the United States of America. What was it that could have been so bad that he would believe himself to be that evil incarnation of Judas?
This is the first time I'm talking about all this like publicly in this forum here. I don't know where to start because it's so interwoven with so many aspects of this case. I'm going to try here. So if it doesn't come out perfect, forgive me, but I'm going to try my best here. There are some players involved in this entire investigation who got into the Judas thing based on another thing that happened the previous year. And I'm going to name the names. Can I do that here?
Go ahead.
Okay. So you have a guy by the name of Thomas Schoenberger. Thomas Schoenberger is synonymous with the Cicada 3301 project. Okay, he is the face of that project. Thomas Schoenberger hired a guy by the name of DeFango, right? Emmanuel Chavez, and to help him out with. And my interviews are coming out. And all this is coming out next week. People can dig into all this, and the stories about this stuff. He was there to do some computer coding and whatnot. During this whole entire time, DeFango brought a guy named Lestat. He lives down there in Mexico, and he's a graphics guy. And by the way, these are their computer names. All right, these aren't their Lestat's. That's not his real name.
Okay,
I'm not going to dox him here, but they had this operation they were doing. He then Thomas formed a company called Shadowbox.
Okay.
And Shadowbox's main intent was to stop. It was a program to stop online gang stalking. That's what they were doing. Okay. He was then called by a guy named Ed Butowski, who's a financier, to come over to Texas for a meeting. According to Thomas and DeFango, Ed Butowski asked Thomas and DeFango to tap Seth Rich's parents' phone lines and computers.
Wow.
Okay. And Thomas says, I said, nope, there's no way in hell I'm doing that. That's illegal. That's wire fraud. Not going to do it. There was a gentleman from Fox News there that night, a news reporter. There was another guy by the name of Matt Couch was there.
Yeah.
Yep. I got the whole interview. It's all there. Apparently, according to Thomas, DeFango and Ed Butowski went and did it. Now, you can only imagine why somebody would want to tap Seth Rich's parents' and attorneys' lines with everything that's going on in the aftermath of the Seth Rich murder, right?
Right.
Seth Rich died, as we know, for giving those files over to, to WikiLeaks. And there was the DNC file, specifically Hillary Clinton, and a bunch of those things, those emails there were about pedophilia.
Right.
And Seth Rich gets shot, and now he's dead. So Thomas and DeFango are wrapped up in that whole thing. Thomas was deposed last month for 8 hours, where he told the attorneys in a civil case about this entire deal. DeFango, if you go on his, and I hate to give him free press because he's such an asshole. If you go onto his YouTube channel, he makes videos. I mean, he publicized the entire deal and what he was doing and when he was going in, and he was subpoenaed for all of his records in there, all that stuff. So these guys are all wrapped up in that, and they had a big falling out, and Thomas fired Lestat and DeFango. So they were pissed off.
Okay.
That being said, DeFango starts attacking and gang stalking Thomas for the next couple months. Thomas claims to be a psychic.
Okay.
If people here aren't familiar with Thomas Schoenberger is what you would call the Kaiser Soze of the social media internet world. And you're laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Thomas is anything you want to think about Thomas. He is a highly intelligent man. I'm transparent about my relationship with him. We talk once every other week. He has given me information. I've interviewed him several times. He'll email me here or there. He's a pain in the ass sometimes, but he's never attacked me. He's never come out. He's never attacked anyone that I can see. But he is mortal enemies with DeFango and Lestat and the whole entire online LARPing crowd. So that being said, Thomas has this vision about Judas in this dream. He cuts this video, and I think it's called Sybil. And you can go to, I think it's on his website, Sophia Music with a K.com. Okay. And that's where all his videos are at. And it was a warning. And he said, here, like, DeFango, I was given a prophecy. And he has predicted. He has predicted other things. He predicted there's a tornado in Oklahoma. And you can talk to Nathan about that. Stoltman, he was on that show for that. He predicted the fire on Notre Dame. So there's something going on there. I don't pretend to understand it. I'm not, rooting for him or anything, but those are the facts.
Now, how long ago was this dream about the Judas prophecy recorded?
He cut the video the next day. This was back in March of, let me get to my 18.
March. Okay. So over a year.
March 14, 2018. March 15th, he made the video. Well, then DeFango just kept going and going and going. And finally, I wouldn't have done this, but Thomas writes him an email. And the email states, I got the email right here. I'm going to release it. You can go online. You can find it. It's out there. It's to DeFango from Thomas Schoenberger. Depression, the urge to yell at people as you find yet another betrayer in your midst. This is your final 7 months of sanity. The weight of your sins will break your mind. Arturo, that's Lestat. Arturo is busy plotting against you. He hates you. You hate him. Next week is full of upsets. By mid-May, watch for car trouble. That's the Judas prophecy. Okay. Now, that being said, this is where it gets a little creepy. Everything that was just stated is what actually happened to Isaac.
Okay.
Right. And I'll just go through this real quick. Depression. Isaac was very depressed towards the end, right? He was yelling at people, Fiona, he got in a fight with everyone he was talking to. The family was there for him. He was there for them, but he had problems. He was very depressed and upset. You'll find another betrayer in your midst. What did he say? I betrayed everyone, right? He said in his final letter, the Periscope. He said it in 3 private conversations on the 12th. I've spoken to everyone who talked to him on the 12th. Before he left for Arizona and after while he was driving. I've spoken to every single person, okay? He talked about being Judas, about having to fulfill the prophecy. about that he had betrayed him and he was nothing but a Judas. He kept saying that the last week especially.
Yeah.
Okay. Final 7 months. Well, that's about the time he started going crazy. He started going crazy. I say crazy, but he started getting trouble when he when he went to Australia. He'd been in hiding for about a year before he took off to Australia. But when he came back, that's when things got rough for him. When he got off the plane, he wanted just to bring light out, and he kind of had a bump, and then it just got worse and worse, and he became a recluse, and he was living in Apple Valley at that Michelle girl's house. Arturo's busy plotting against you. He hates you, hate him. He's full of upsets. Well, the last week was full of upsets, obviously, and by mid-May, watch for car trouble. Isaac's car had the front right tire blow out in Belmont. That's where he ended up stopping. So that is what's known as the Judas prophecy. So everything happens. Isaac unfortunately dies. The next very day, DeFango comes on that morning and said, Thomas killed Isaac. He brainwashed him and corrupted his mind with the sorcery and his black magic and his visions and all the BS that he was talking to. He was mind slaying him. That next day, okay, the same day, a guy by the name of Elohai Priest.
Familiar with him as well.
Elohai Priest, who kind of makes, I ain't scared of much, but that guy's got connections. That guy's been around. I'll meet anything head on. But that's one guy that has credible links to the CIA, credible links to MI6. I've heard full conversations with him in the CIA.
Oh yeah,
he's in politics. Yeah, you've heard those?
Oh, he's been on the show before. Yeah. We went through all that. Yeah.
Okay, so you know who he is. Okay.
Yeah.
So he comes out the next day and blames Thomas.
Really?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. And there's emails. I have screenshots of private text messaging between Thomas and I think it'll be between Elohai and Thomas. Yeah.
Now, were Thomas and Isaac in contact with one another?
Yes, Thomas met Isaac the week after, like within days of Isaac making the Comic-Con, the original Periscope, right? He had met him there. He had reached out to him and said, hey, I really kind of want to get behind your mission. He's been in California, the life there as well. So he said, I think we can do this for you. He had set him up with Nathan. He knew Nathan Stoltman at Lift the Veil.
Yes.
He said, he said Isaac had no traction, and I wanted to get him some traction. Another guy at Cicada did the media stuff, the cameras and the the software that we use. So Thomas set up Isaac with that guy. Thomas didn't do any of that stuff for him, but they just facilitated that. Okay. Thomas had no idea who Elohai was until after he met Isaac. No, none at all. Until after Isaac died, I think he said. Mm-hmm. Right. But DeFango is the one who introduced Isaac to Elohai. That's the connection there.
Yes.
And that's where Isaac went to Australia.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff about Elohai. I've never spoken to him. He wrote a eulogy. He was the first person to sign the online eulogy for Isaac as well. There's something there. I don't know what is there. I'm not going to say what's there. Isaac came back. I have the text messages. I'm going to release them. Mm-hmm. He said that, Isaac, he said very unfavorable things about Elohai.
Right.
He was very unhappy with him and Fiona both when he got back here. He wanted to forget the whole entire thing. Yeah. And he wanted to move on. Something happened in Australia that no one really knows about between Elohai and Isaac. So, but what's strange is everywhere you go, you got Thomas Schoenberger and Cicada right there mixed in with DeFango. And DeFango also, it's not just Thomas, DeFango. DeFango is the link between a lot of these people. Mm-hmm. Right now, Lestat has taken control of the Able Danger. Oh,
is that who did that?
YouTube, yeah.
I've had a lot of people message me saying, can you get a hold of Field? His YouTube channel got hacked, and I did. No. He had no idea. I was the first person. He didn't at the time, but he knows now. I was the first person to tell him.
Yeah. Oh, I emailed him weeks ago. Field never emails me back, but
yeah,
I let him know. Apparently, Field's partner allowed that to happen, from what I understand.
Okay.
And it's now is the anti-Thomas Schoenberger channel. Every video on there is anti-Thomas, and Lestat has been granted control of that. Now, I understand there might be some other stuff going on there on the back end, deals that were made.
Okay.
But it's weird how all this stuff is just connected at that level. But all these people were involved in a certain capacity with Isaac. Thomas says that prophecy curse was for DeFango. He says that DeFango got with Lestat and worked black magic and sent it to Isaac. Thomas holds that Lestat, Arturo, is a Satanist. And opening, if you go to his website, it's pretty dark. There's some dark stuff on there, not just occultic stuff, but there's some satanic occultic stuff on there. He holds that Lestat is a pedophile. There is a tweet out there, a text out there, where, in Lestat's own words, he was saying he was with a 13-year-old girl. He offered to get a 13-year-old virgin for Thomas when he was down there. Thomas actually went down there and lived with them prior. And the story is, you can hear Lestat tell it, you can hear Thomas say it, but Thomas says that when he got down there, Arturo hit him up for money. He's a heroin addict. He gave him $200 and some stuff. He said Lestat has 3 pictures of Judas in his house, and he had this whole obsession with Judas, and he had a whole obsession with Enochian magic. And Thomas warned him, because Thomas studies the occult, right? Mm-hmm. Thomas is the brain behind Cicada 3301. All those puzzles with occultic, religious, theological motifs. Yes, that's where that comes from. So all that was going on. Arturo says that he had to kick Thomas out of his house. But so it's a shit show, and it's just gotten worse and worse and darker, and everyone's doubled down. And it seems that Isaac walked right into this tar baby of hate and feud and gang stalking between whatever's going on with Lestat, DeFango, and Thomas. And when Thomas reached out to Isaac to help him out, of course, DeFango brands his entire YouTube channel as an anti-LARPer, right? Right. So he came out and said that Isaac was making everything up, and he was LARPing, and it was one big Hollywood BS in order to get clicks and eyeballs from a failed B-grade actor, right? Mm-hmm. Lestat is like anti-Q. He's got this thing about Q, his obsession with proving Q to be fake. Mm-hmm. So DeFango goes out and says that, well, I made Q up, and I invented Q. And then he says Thomas, you can hear videos where he says both. We all invented Q. Q's a total psyop that got out of control. We wanted to see if people would believe it. Thomas is like, that ain't true at all. We didn't invent Q. There's no such thing. Lestat has this Q thing, and he believes that Isaac was being used either knowingly or unknowingly, and moved up in the social media ranking on these shows because he was full of crap, in order to push the Q narrative for the Q movement, patriot movement. That's where he stands on the whole entire thing. And they all really believe this. Wow. Thomas believes that the prophecy was given to DeFango. DeFango went to a black magician who then turned around and did witchcraft and threw it onto Isaac. Now, there are messages. There are people who've told me, Isaac called me like the last few weeks there and said, Lestat won't stop calling me. Like, Lestat's trying to psyop me. He's trying to mind, Yeah. Really. So there is that. He was very suspicious of Lestat in the end, extremely suspicious. So that's what I have discovered and found out, and that's the ball of tar that we're looking at here. This
maybe a dark magic psyop was run on Isaac to make him think that he was Judas. Was there ever anything that he actually did that could be considered enough to have him thrown out? I mean, he seemed like he was fairly convinced, that he had really betrayed everyone, or that he was putting people in jeopardy.
May 12th, 11:50 p.m., somewhere in there, Arizona time. Isaac begins a phone call with a very trusted friend, Christian friend, who he'd spoken to regularly once or twice a day, usually twice a day, about God, about Jesus, about faith, among other things. Isaac left the Love Station in Williams, Arizona at 11:45 p.m. after he purchased a pack of American Spirit cigarettes and a yellow Love's cigarette lighter. Within a few minutes, probably 20 minutes of rolling down the road, or 15, 20 minutes, he gets a flat tire on his front right tire. It blows out, shreds the entire tire. It's missing. All that was left, I have pictures, are the two sidewalls.
Wow.
It blew out completely. He pulls over. He sits there and talks for the next hour with this person. And in this conversation, he talks about betraying. And he betrayed the Q movement. He betrayed everybody. And that he is Judas. And that there's no way out of it. And he's going to have to pay. And his friend says, no matter what you did, Jesus will forgive you. God, and I will forgive you. Your friends will forgive you. You have this amazing group of people here. It doesn't matter what you did. We still love you. It's not as bad as you think. Whatever. And he said, no, I've been contacted by the Trump administration. They have me as a traitor, treason, he said. Mm-hmm. And I did something that can't be undone. That's what he said. He also said to somebody a few days prior, something very close to the same thing. He said, they're going to come for me, and they're going to tear me limb from limb. I'm not suicidal, but that's a better option, alternative, what they're going to do to me. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. Kind of like what I suspect happened to Epstein. We're going to turn the cameras off for 15 minutes and leave you with a real sheet in here. Mm-hmm. And you do what needs to be done like a man, because the alternative is going to be, well, something not pretty.
Sure.
He had told a friend that, same friend and another person as well, that he had been under Voice of Skull attack for 30 to 40 days prior to when this happened.
Which could drive anyone to suicide if you've been under attack like that.
Voices and music. I interviewed the person who was in the vehicle with Isaac on Wednesday. That'd be the 8th, May 8th. The person went to California. She went to California. She is part of the Familam, and the Familam had Isaac's back. They said, "Hey, listen, we need to get someone over to Isaac right now. He's in a bad way." She went over there and spent the whole day with him. And during that day, they went out, and she was just rubbing his head. He had headaches. He had been pounding his head against the ground, it looked like. He had a knot. He was in bad shape. You can listen to the interview. It's about an hour and a half.
I did want to ask you about that. Because when she said that he had a knot, was it like he had been assaulted by someone?
No, he'd been pounding his head.
Oh, pounding his head. Oh, gosh.
I verified that. He had been pounding his head against like a floor, from what he told someone else as well.
Okay.
He said, the only thing that really helped in the end was meditation and praying. And that's why that last, Periscope was so about meditation and praying and staying in the light. That's what he was going on about, because that was the only thing that was helping him. She drives him to go get some lunch, some tacos down the street there in Apple Valley. And they're sitting at a stoplight waiting. And she says that the radio was off. And out of the blue comes in the loudest music she's ever heard in her life. And she instinctively reached out to turn off the radio. It wasn't on. And it was in her head. It wasn't coming through her ears. It was in her head. And she was like doing this. And she looked over, and Isaac had slid down into his chair, and he was shaking visibly. He began to shake. Mm. And she yelled. She says, "Is this what has been happening to you?" And he nodded. And the song was Phil Collins' "In the Air Tonight." Wow. She remembers it distinctly. And she looked out the window, and she was so loud. It was in her head. She was trying to maintain. And she looked out the window, and people out there on the sidewalk that were walking, they couldn't hear it. She said, but it was as loud as if you were like, when you're on your block and there's a block party going over the next street over, that level of loudness, only if you were right there in your head. And when they went out, and she said by the time they got to the taco shop, it had died out. They got tacos, they went home, and Isaac didn't wait. He bolted straight from the door into the house, and he went there and laid down again, and he was shaking. So That's what he was going through. That interview's up. I cut that. I don't know if you heard that or not when it happened.
Yeah, I did. That was
a very powerful interview.
Extremely. Corey, if we can, we're going to need to take a brief intermission, and we'll be right back in just about 60 seconds, okay?
Cool beans.
Thank you very much. All right, Corey, thank you very much for waiting, everyone. So the idea that perhaps Isaac was under this type of supersonic attack for 30 to 40 days, I think that that informs a lot about his mental state at the time that that he passed. But when it comes down to it, no one really knows for certain exactly what it was that he supposedly had done.
I know when it was.
You know when it was. Okay, but we just don't know what the act was. We don't know.
I have a suspicion.
Well, what would your suspicion be?
So, he said in his Periscope this last week, I made a decision this last week. I believe he said it was sometime during that Monday to that Friday. He had also mentioned that he was gambling. And the gamble was, and I know why he was gambling. He was trying to get out of that house.
Yeah.
He hated living there with Michelle, hated it. And he needed to make enough money to move. And he said it was stupid. It was the blink of an eye. And he looked at his phone when, he looked down like that when he did that. Whatever happened over the phone.
Okay.
It involved a chance or a gamble of some kind, and it happened during that week. When I looked on his bank records, there is a record for a website called Predictit.
Micro gambling.
And there is a withdrawal from an account there to his bank account, $219.58. All right, from his ledger. So that happened on the 8th, which was that week.
Right.
That was that Wednesday. Okay. Was it the 8th? Yes, it was the 8th. I think it may have been that, but I think it may have been something else in conjunction with that. You say, how can you make a lot of money on Predictit, right? It's micro gambling. It's little bits here, little bits there. And for those you don't know, it's a New Zealand-based website where you gamble on politics, and a lot of it's American politics there, right?
Right. It was things like this week, you can bet that President Trump was going to be indicted in the Mueller probe, things like that.
Yeah. And I think if Isaac was in a position to have information on, let's say Epstein,
mm-hmm.
and he was to release that information through somebody who had connections to the CIA,
mm-hmm.
Maybe you could influence some U.S. Global or some U.S. politics that way.
Okay.
The information he had could have been very, very lucrative. He could have done it somewhere else. He may have released a video and content somewhere in one of his other periscopes that gave a heads up to the Epstein bust coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I know people have told me that he had his sights set on going from Hollywood to DC. His eye was going to be moving over that way to open all that up over there. And he had been told, rumor had it, and I cannot substantiate this, that a very powerful person called and told him, you keep your mouth shut. You do what you want on the West Coast. You come out here and you will be taken out.
I can believe that.
I can't substantiate that, but someone called him in no uncertain terms and told him in a phone call that, from what I've been told. And that name you would recognize like that.
Really?
So, I think he may have given a heads up to the Epstein deal. I think something has to do with Epstein, because any whistleblower or anything surrounding these kids and these pedophilia and the child, networking, they seem to end up dead. Seth Rich is gone. Epstein's gone. Isaac is gone. The people that were going to blow the whistle on Haiti, the Clinton Foundation, Haiti, right?
So many people.
He's gone. The girl who was volunteering down there was going to come out. She's dead. The mayor of some town down there was going to come talk about the corruption with Haiti in regards. He got shot in Miami in a hotel. Right. Because of suicide. It's the patterns are there. And then you overlay the ritualistic, the numerology and the dates and the times and all of that on top of that. And then you weave in together the whole thing with Cicada and DeFango and the LARPing, the Seth Rich. And you start to paint a picture that a lot more was going on here that Isaac probably had no clue about.
Exactly.
He didn't know where, he didn't understand the half of what he was involved in. He knew it was dangerous, but I don't think he understood the players and the ins and the outs. Isaac was he was a beacon of light. That's how all of his friends, and I spent a week with his friends over there in California not long ago.
Yeah. And
we talked about all kinds of stuff. And I've met and spoken I've become very good friends with a lot of those people. And they said he was just the most beautiful, gentle light you would ever know. And he can make anyone smile. And he always said, if you're not having fun, you're not winning. Stay in the light, always have fun. We can do our work, stay in the light, have fun. That was his message. And he had the ability and the means to, because he was an actor and because he had been there and involved with all that stuff, he knew who was doing what, but I don't think he was prepared. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a hard warrior. He didn't know how to put up those defenses. He didn't know how to literally handle firearms. Didn't know how to look to protect himself. He was horrible at vetting people, right? Half of my research is what I have. A big chunk of my research was going into the online networks and social media networks that he constructed with key players early on, the OGs. And those guys had set up a key-based system, right? And they had set up their 4 or 5 other networks in order to organize the infrastructure for the data drops and the conversations to be had that they didn't want on apps. You know what I mean? They had gone through the technological side. And he was horrible at vetting people. He actually employed people, not employed, but he got them to come in and vet people for him because he knew he wasn't very good at it.
Right. Well, on that note, there was a lot of weird things that happened with Kappy's roommates in the days after his death. And I saw many people asking, how did he come to live there? What were the circumstances of that? And it seemed that the owner of that home sought him out and asked him to come and move in with her because they apparently were on some type of the same level with their stories, or that she had something that she wanted Isaac to help her with, and she thought that she could help Isaac with his situation, not having a place to live. But did you find anything out about those ladies? Was there anything there other than just the fact that perhaps they were just odd people?
They are odd people. Watch the videos. They're kind of odd people. I've never spoken to either of them. Okay. I've watched the Periscope. They did come out the next day. I thought it was odd that Kayla was in Isaac's room going through his computer, reading stuff on a Periscope, going through his personal stuff. Oh, that ticked off so many people. That was something else. Michelle did not give back any, she gave it very little of Isaac's possessions, artwork. She kept it. I can't talk more about that. I can't speak to that right now. There's other stuff going on. Michelle owns a flower shop about an hour and a half south of Apple Valley. She had asked, she has Hollywood connections. She knows people in Hollywood. You know, if you get in California, you know, I guess you do eventually, right? She's your business owner. Isaac needed a place to hide out. Looking to hide out. He felt threatened for his life, and he wanted to get away. And he figured Apple Valley is a great place. Don't look for me there. That's why he had gone there. She'd offered him, you know, free rent. They just come live. And of course, he was the actor, somewhat famous. He could probably help her with some connections and everything as well. You know, if you watch her videos, she's a little odd. You know, she goes into this whole Morgellons thing. She wanted to open up. She wanted to turn her house into what is it, Kappy Land? She said her words.
I hadn't heard that. Didn't hear that. That's in poor taste, though. Yeah,
and it was to where it was going to be a place people could come, kind of like a hostel or a campground. She wanted to turn it into a beautiful place, and Isaac's memory. Just these weird ideas. That's the kind of, you know, person she is. And I don't know her. I didn't talk to her, but the whole thing was odd. It was said by a lot of people that they were handlers. So I think she reached out to Isaac.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm positive she did reach out to Isaac.
I am too. Yeah.
And, you know, the thought was that those who wanted Isaac gone and wanted to slay his mind with voice to skull had positioned her, and she would have been the perfect person for that.
That was my suspicion, and that's why I wanted to know, to see if anything else had come up, because I believe that she was an actress at one time herself. Yeah.
She has connections there.
Yeah. Well, you know, and speaking of the acting, Wright and Judas, right after Isaac died, someone updated his IMDb page and said that his nickname was Judas Iscariot. Now, if I'm not mistaken, IMDb pages are owned and operated by the people whose profiles they are. It's much like a Facebook profile. So that means that someone had Isaac's password and login to go in and update it, or someone who worked at IMDb, a programmer on the back end, would have had to go ahead and update that. Anything come up related to that?
No.
Wow.
I made a video about it. I covered it. And about, I think the next day, it was changed back again.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it changed back like the next day. It reminded, I was reminded of that when I talked to the lady who said she talked to Isaac 12 hours after he supposedly died. You know, that kind of came to mind when she sought me out. So there's the phone. There's a cell phone. I'm in the Family Am chat group, okay? They asked me to come in for the work I was doing, and they all opened up and said they'll answer any questions, and they appreciate the work I was doing. So I know most of the people in there. It's a great group of people. If you go into the chat room we're in, Isaac created it. He's the main creator of it. And Isaac, it says, was last seen on May 13th, 1:37 a.m. Now, I have a lot of problems with the cell phone. There's some unanswered questions there that kind of make my head spin and make me say something is not right with the official story. And I know I'm right on this. I just got a gut. If I'm wrong, that's why we got erasers on pencils, right? But my gut feeling for all this time looking into this, there's something here. Isaac was down on the just before the off ramp where he got the flat tire. He was told the person he was with that he could see the lights. He was in Belmont. He sat there for an hour talking on the side of the phone about being saved, about Jesus, about praying, staying in the light, all that stuff. He hung up. He drove up and over to the motel, parked his car out there, went and checked in about 1:30 in the morning. He called his mother and said, I got a flat tire in Belmont. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, he made that phone call. 2 a.m. or 2:30 New Mexico time and 1:30 Arizona time roughly. That being said, the hotel guy, night manager, said, he was outside all night long walking around. Remember that? You would have heard that. Well, Isaac was a social media animal. He was in chat groups. He had people. He talked to people the entire way as he was driving from Apple Valley all the way over. All 6 hours. He's on the phone, call after call. He even did his last live Instagram, right?
I want to talk about that too.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he did that while he was in California, just after he left the Apple Valley store and gassed up, and he had done that. I find it hard to believe that somebody like Isaac will be walking around a hotel all night long, smoking cigarettes outside, not on his social media.
I do as well.
Not on his Telegram app, right?
Right.
Which is where the family resides. I find that very hard to believe. And then the next morning, if you go through the body cam footage that I posted, it shows the cop sitting there. The fireman walks up. He's got the cell phone in his hand. And he says, hey, I don't know if this is one of your guys's or belongs to him, but I found this laying where he would have been over there. And he points back up the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks on it. It says 742. And there's the push messages coming across the screen.
Yep.
Right? First of all, Isaac's body didn't move. I have two witnesses who saw him get run over and say he did not roll, he did not move, but 4 or 5 inches, 6 tops. Okay. He falls off a 22-foot bridge. They pull out of his pockets his passport, his driver's license, 4 debit cards, 2 cigarette lighters, other cards and ID, and his keys to his car.
Mm-hmm.
Yet his cell phone is back over there where the body would have been, where it wasn't, because it was right there. You can see, because in the video, in the body cam, you can see his body laying there with the sheet over it. But he points to we found it over there where the body would. Why would the cell phone over there? And if it was over there, how did it get there? And why didn't it break when it fell? An iPhone falls off of a 22-foot bridge.
Right.
Not a scratch on it. And then the cop looks at it, and there's push messages coming across. And he notes the push messages in the official report. It says that there were messages coming across saying, we forgive you. What did you do? And the other one, very concerning, said, Isaac, you need to get out of the room until we figure this out. It made the police believe, the investigator there, believe that there may have been somebody in the room. That's when they went up there and they went to the room. Well, in the body cam footage, they're in the room for like 45 seconds. They walk in, they look at the bed, they kind of look around, they look in the bathroom, he didn't take a shower, nothing's done, and they walked out. That was the whole investigation of the room. Now, these police note in their report that they thought somebody might be in the room based on the text message pushes that were coming across. Yet, they don't take fingerprints. They don't do. They don't question the maids. They don't question anything else. They don't pull the video footage. They don't go to the pilot station, which you have to drive across the parking lot to get to the hotel for vehicles coming in and out. No one thought to go pull video footage and watch Isaac walking out to the bridge. I know for a fact, absolute fact, that there is a camera on the outside of that pilot station. I know for a fact it points right towards those gas pumps. And anyone walking from the Days Inn would cross that parking lot, and you can see them. They would have had to walk out to the overpass. They didn't pull that.
Were you able to pull any of that? I mean, I know that I know some of the stuff you pulled, but I mean, it sounds like already you did more gathering of evidence in this case than they did themselves. Were you able to speak with anyone there at the hotel or anyone that saw him with another person?
Not the hotel. I spoke with the first person I interviewed was this girl who worked at the pilot station. She doesn't work there anymore. I got a lot of crap for this interview too. They said she was unstable. They said, and she has her problems. She does. But that doesn't mean that you're a liar. Doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means you might have problems,
Yeah.
And she does. She has some problems. But she said, listen, I've been here for 3 weeks. And when I started talking to her, I recorded the interview. I actually made a video out of it. I put it out. She said, you know what? It's a shame because he had been here for the last 3 weeks. And I said, excuse me? She said, yeah, he'd been here for the last, since I've been working, he's been here. I said, who is here? She goes, the guy that jumped, he came in Friday and he told me that he couldn't take anymore. He just couldn't do it. And he was going to commit suicide. I said, you tell me the guy that jumped 2 days ago on the 13th has been there for 3 weeks?
It's impossible.
She says, yeah. He lives behind the station. I said, what do you mean he goes behind the station? He goes, he's this homeless guy. He's been coming here every day. And I said, yeah, he's got this dog, this brown dog. And I said, wait a minute. So we did the whole interview, and she says, that's him. I said, where's he at now? She goes, he's not here. He jumped on Monday. And I said, do you know the guy that jumped is a fellow by the name of Isaac Kappy, who's a Hollywood actor, and he was on his way to Albuquerque? She said, it can't be, because he had the curly hair, looked just like him. There are 5 other people that I have, 3 of which I've spoken to, who live in Belmont, right there, who drive out of the Belmont residence in turn. Each one of them, during the interview, told me the guy that jumped was the homeless guy that lived there at Belmont. 3 of them told me that.
Did you?
And go ahead.
Just wondering if you were able to find that homeless guy.
That homeless guy has not been seen since. The homeless guy was there from February to the 12th. Okay? He'd been seen regularly for 2 to 3 to 4 days at a time. Then he'd disappear for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and he'd come right back again. And he slept behind the pilot station. He used to sit next to the stop sign, next to the McDonald's sign. And they all said the same thing. And they said, you know what? But 2 days before he jumped, he had moved up from the McDonald's stop sign there over to the road like he was going to hitch a ride out of there. So he was on the westbound on-ramp right there where he could hitch a ride. And she said, there's homeless people here all the time. So we didn't think much of it. But the next day, we realized that he jumped. And I said, well, he didn't jump. Isaac Kappy jumped. And one person tells me, yeah, who would have thought he had so much money? And I said, you don't understand. I know where Isaac Kappy was. I have an hour-by-hour itinerary of where Isaac was for the last week of his life, and he was not at this gas station. And she said, I'm looking at the picture right now, and if you put a cap on Kappy, on your Isaac, it is the homeless guy.
Wow.
I interviewed another gentleman down from the Love Station where Isaac stopped and purchased the lighter and the cigarettes at 7:43 p.m. the night before. And he had said that he understood it was the homeless guy that jumped. And I said, how do you know that? He goes, well, people were coming and talking about it. They said that one of the homeless guys jumped up the road. I happened to get the screenshots from the Facebook neighborhood Facebook page of the Belmont. And they're all talking in there. And 3 of them mentioned that the homeless guy, they said, oh, somebody jumped, it was chatter within like an hour of the event. And 2 or 3 of them thought it was the homeless guy that jumped, independent of the 2 people I talked to who lived there who thought it was the homeless guy.
And were you able to get any photographic evidence of this homeless guy either before or after? No.
The only thing that's really odd, man, is I remember, and I can't find it, I can't verify it. Hey, if anyone out there listening to this knows this, get in touch with me, please. info@thephoenixenigma.com. And I only want real stuff, okay? But listen, someone had told me that they had heard or understood that a person matching Isaac's exact description was seen 2 hours after the event at Camper World, which is about a quarter mile up east on the highway. If Isaac would have crossed that bridge and made a left and walked down about 3 minutes, he'd have been at Camper World. And apparently someone was saying that someone that matches Isaac's description was right there. Now, all of this, the entire town of Belmont butts up literally right against the Camp Navajo military base, which is the largest military base per square mile in Arizona. It's reputed to be a deep underground military base as well.
Yeah.
My thought was, when I initially started hearing these reports of this homeless guy and, Isaac being taken out in some military operation, which obviously he was talking to someone. He was talking to someone at the national level. He knew something. But if you wanted to do an operation, which better place to do it than at this huge military base in the middle of nowhere where there's no witnesses, barely any cameras, that you control the entire theater of. And then
Yes.
just so happens to get a flat tire. And people say, well, how could you get a flat tire right there? Well, it's easy. Because I called a tow truck driver, been in the business for 25 years. He said, I can give you a flat tire. can give you a flat tire in 20 minutes. I said, how's that? He says, you go out there when the gas stop, and when they go inside to use the restroom or get something to eat, you take a BB. You put it right under the valve stem or the valve cover, and you screw it down gently, and you let that BB push on that valve stem valve and let it out a real slow leak. He said, the damage you described on that tire where the whole thing blew and popped was from overheating. Overheating is from low pressure. Isaac starts going down the road within 10, 15 minutes, that's going to heat up and that whole tire will explode. That's
the uniformity of that tire blowout, the entire center of that tire just completely gone. That's just incredible.
It was only the two sidewalls, and there were no bullet holes in any of them.
And real quick, I just need to say, Christopher Hudson, thank you very much. You said universal spiritual rules, maybe like gravity. This is going back to our earlier conversation. Tanette Booth says that DeFango's been a shill from the beginning. I don't think that many people are going to argue with that. Tanette, thank you very much. Aussie Dog says, I know what went down in Australia, and it revolves around my story and Downer and me. I'm assuming that's Alexander Downer. Aussie Dog, if you want to talk about that over email, you're free to send it.
Yeah, please do. Please get in touch with me. I'd like to speak. In fact, get in touch with me, please, and I'll call you.
Yeah, info@thephoenixenigma.com. Was that what it? Okay. And Eminem says, I heard the deep state have the technology to do that, talking about voice to skull. That's correct. God's Guy says, put your faith in no man and will fail you every time. Put your faith alone in Jesus Christ. He will never leave you or forsake you. Know your enemy. That's very true, Guy. Thank you very much. And EO2 Dave says, after the murders down in the Dominican Republic, it's making me wonder why vaping is making people sick in 4 states. What do you think? Well, it's off topic, but we were actually speaking about it earlier, and from what I understand, it's like 99% of those cases are all from people who are smoking a particular type of THC or marijuana vape, a vape pen. So definitely, you want to make sure that you look into the stuff that you're putting into your body. Okay, so the other question that I had in regards to this with the Instagram video, that last Instagram video, because those videos disappear. I haven't been able to find anybody who actually saw it, but you had said that you actually spoke to several people who saw the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the content of that final Instagram? Was it similar to the Periscope video, or did it have any other revelations?
Yeah. That last Instagram was very similar to the Periscope. He basically, it was a more intense one, actually. They were asking questions. He made a lot of amends with people. He was apologizing for some things. He was explaining why someone got removed from the chat. He was very down. He was very nervous. He was pulling his hair the whole time. It was straightened by the end of it. All that was going on. Someone asked him about Vegan Mikey, and he said, yeah, Vegan Mikey's probably a drug addict. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he had come out with that. He was really disgusted with Mikey in the end. God, he was disgusted with Vegan Mikey. And it took the rest of us another month to figure out what was going on there. But we did. We figured out.
Well, that's an excellent point to mention the dead man switch, or the supposed dead man switch.
Yeah.
Mikey had said that after Isaac passed, that he was holding on to some documents or some files or something like that, and that he needed help disseminating them or cracking them open. What can you tell us about that dead man switch?
I'm going to try and talk about it without getting too angry.
Okay.
Because Vegan got under my skin, and he betrayed a lot of people. And he used a lot of people, and his drug addiction and his grifting ways really did a lot of damage to a lot of people who believed the best in him. Vegan Mikey came out and he grifted on the whole entire satanic ritual. And he may be an SRA survivor. I don't know. It doesn't matter at this point, because his actions of what he's done, people have been trying to help him from the very beginning. He found Isaac. Isaac was trying to help him. A lot of SRA people came to Isaac. He's spent a whole week talking with them at one point. And Mikey got his hooks on. Mikey's really good at what he does. He's got a great vocabulary. He's very likable. And he convinced Isaac that he needed help, and he was going to get kicked out, and he needed money for his phone and this and that, and on and on. And they had this friendship where Isaac gave him money and utilized his resources in the Famalam to get other resources to Mikey. It took Isaac figured it out in the end. Okay. All that being said, Isaac dies, and Mikey comes out, and he's just going to grab on. He's going to grab on and leech on this thing for all it's worth. And we have a foundation, a couple of people in the family. We started a foundation, and that foundation was giving money to Mikey. It was helping him because we believed he was, this person in need. Mikey comes out and says, I have this information that Isaac gave me. And I don't know if Mikey came up with it. I've heard him call it the dead man switch, but someone else might have called it that.
Okay.
And to Mikey's credit, I don't know if he first called it that or not. But he said that him and Isaac were developing this information. It had to come out, and that Isaac had given to him in case anything happened to him, he would come out with it. So he's like, all right, Mikey, let's have it. Let's do it. He goes, well, I can't give it to you yet, Corey. And the other person that we're working with, and he couldn't give it to him either. And we had to develop it. And to develop it, we had to work with somebody who was in Langley. And we couldn't do a data jump and get the information to him because only this guy had the stuff, whatever it took to break in and crack it and do whatever. So it had to be hand delivered. We're actually trying to find someone to fly across the country and hand deliver this data to this guy who didn't want any digital footprint at all on this whole entire thing, which is all bullshit, And I'm like, no, guys, there's something wrong here. There's something so wrong here. And Mikey kept dangling this carrot. And I said, Mikey, listen, dude, it's a month now. You're going on about this stuff. If you have the information, you do. If it's a dead man switch, the whole point of a dead man switch is you flick the switch.
Right.
Well, I never said that, and I don't want to dox anyone, and I don't want to, falsely accuse people, and I don't know. So finally, that we set that aside for a couple of weeks and let Mikey develop what he was going to develop with his Langley character to see what would happen with that. During that time, Mikey was living where he's at down south, and the foundation supporting him. People are giving him money left and right. He's getting money from everyone. He's on Zelle getting money from people. He's doing his thing, and he comes to us and says, hey guys, I found another SRA survivor, and this person has a kid, and the kid has HIV positive, and the guy needs medicine monthly. Can we set him up with the foundation to get some money with that? And some people in the group were like, yeah, we'll do that. I'm like, oh no. Mikey just got his ass kicked last week. He had to go to the hospital. He shows us this little tiny strip of something that says it was a hospital bill. And he's got a story for everything. He needed $80 to get an Uber up there. I said, guys, he's a junkie. All right. We give him money. He disappears for 3 days. He comes back. He's a damn junkie. Stop. I'm calling this one, guys. We all vote unanimously on this deal. I said, I'm putting the brakes on it now. I want a name. I want how to get up there. How is this guy that can't feed himself, doesn't have a job or a pot to piss in, how is he out there being a philanthropist, finding other SRA survivors and bringing them in only to grab more money from the family? I said, no way, guys. So we called him out on the whole entire thing. And I started investigating Mikey. I kind of put Isaac thing on hold. I dug into Mikey because it was so twisted in with what Isaac was doing at the time. And yeah, we uncovered stuff about Mikey. I found there was a foundation that he was trying to get funded in California out of Portland. There's another group that he had been grifting off of over there, was getting ready to. Someone else gave him money. We added up all the money. I put a call and said, if you've given Mikey, vegan Mikey money, if you've ever given him, send me an email and tell me how much you've given him. And I was getting screenshots. I was getting Zelle screenshots, right? And I said, guys, Mikey is working every single angle for as much cash as he possibly can. I said, he's done. He's cut off. Not only that, people here have been giving him their rent money. People here have been giving them their Christmas bonuses. And he doesn't care one iota about anything here. We're a family in the family here, guys. And this ends now. He's out. He needs to, and it was unanimously voted. He went out. Mikey would come into the family and totally destroy everything. Here's his MO. If you ever come across this guy, he'll come into your organization, your group of friends, your scenario, your paradigm, and he will blow up a big bomb in there, metaphorically speaking. He will say the craziest stuff you can imagine. He will polarize everybody for him or against him. And even if he only gets 5% for him, he then starts working on them emotionally, and he starts grabbing resources from them. And as he goes, as long as that goes, and then when that peters out, he goes and blows up another one. And that pattern we kept seeing over and over and over in the family. And I said, guys, this is what he's doing here. He's polarizing. We're always fighting because of Mikey. It has to end. Boom, Mikey got ejected out, things calmed down, and we got back to the peace and the love and the mission, which was staying in the light and bringing positive things and working towards the goals that Isaac was going towards. And of course, since then, I'm sure you've seen Mikey's Periscopes.
I've seen him at the bar a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
on the scopes. Yeah.
There's people that are making, comical cartoons about how ludicrous, because Mikey's got problems.
Yeah.
He's got problems. And, I'd feel bad for him if he didn't predate on people, on single mothers who had kids who couldn't make their rent and talk people out of their damn Christmas money. I'd feel bad for him. But you know what? Reap it, Mikey. Those are your seeds that you sown, man. Reap it.
That's sad. Now, I would like to just point out to everyone who's watching, we've got over 3,400 people watching right now. And again, we are talking about an investigation into the death of someone who meant a lot to a lot of people in this movement across, many different sectors. So again, we're talking about objective facts in relation to the death of Isaac Kappy. And we're not making any judgments about the legitimacy of what these people are saying. In many cases, they can be actually verified because there are things that go along with it. Corey's done an incredible job in terms of building the timeline, where Isaac was, what his state of mind was, and the kinds of things that he was up against. And again, he's going to be releasing all of this information for the public, and you can go ahead and check it out themselves. But somebody doesn't like the fact that you're putting this information out, Corey, because there seems to be an incredible amount of shills in the audience tonight. People saying that they're upset that I've allowed you to come on the show.
Sure.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that people could be so afraid of. There was one thing that I did want to bring up before we run out of time, and it goes back to the occult nature of Isaac's death. Now, tell us about the song that was playing in the guard's truck as he drove by and captured Isaac on the bridge, or when Isaac is shown in that bridge.
Yeah, what was that? It was
3 Doors Down. 3 Doors
Down.
Yeah. And I would play it here, but we'll get a copyright strike. I can't do that.
Yeah, it said as the what the lyric is now. As the car's driving by him, it said what is it in your X-ray mind? What was that lyric? I off the top of my head, I can't remember what it was exactly. I do so much information, but it pertained to X-ray mind.
Yeah.
V2K. As the car drives by, that lyric plays. In conjunction with the 32 to 33 second on the timestamp as it moves by. Mm-hmm. It just feels so incredibly scripted. And if it's not scripted by people on this world, in this dimension, it was scripted somewhere else that it happened to land like that. And I don't pretend to understand how it went down. I don't know. I have some theories I haven't made public yet, just because I don't want to cloud the objective facts. I have my opinion like everyone else. I've been very careful not to say what I think. Maybe I may come out and say sometime what happened. Mm-hmm. There's people I've talked to I haven't spoken about yet. It's that lyric was it was quite concerning to me when I heard it play in conjunction with the time frame. Because as you know, music is vibration, thought form, thought pattern. It puts a seed in there and begins to grow. It's signaling. Music's very powerful. They've been using it in rituals and ceremonies and sacrifices, since the dawn of time, right? Why stop now?
Well, we are approaching the 11 o'clock hour. Was there any aspect of this that we haven't spoken about yet? Because we've gone through all of my questions here.
There's a lot we haven't touched on that I haven't made public yet. People can wait for that. There's connections that I have made that I haven't even spoken about publicly to anybody yet. That'll be coming out as well. But no, nothing for right now. I think we're good.
You know what? People are asking about Tom Hanks, and
yeah.
Why don't we talk about that real quick?
Talk about Tom Hanks. There's something there. There's something. Absolutely. Give me 1 second here. To get there, but absolutely there's something with Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks not only posted on the day of Isaac's death, he posted exactly 40 days before that. And the nature, second, let me pull it up here. The nature of that post, all of them. In fact, he posted 72 days prior to the event. There's another one that we found that all of them tie in to what had actually happened. You talk about rituals, warnings, scriptings. Let's start with the last one here, first of all. The first one to come out was on, let's see here. First one to come out was posted on March 13th. Once again, 313, right? It said, Land of Enchantment and Lost Gloves, Hanks.
Yeah.
Now, Tom Hanks has an Instagram feed where he takes pictures of lost shoes, lost gloves, lost jackets, kids' clothing and attire and personal effects, and he puts them on his Instagram feed. Bizarre. Not only do I not know any other Hollywood stars that do that, I don't know anyone who does that. And they're cryptic and they're bizarre photos. He likes to take pictures of gloves. Masonically, gloves are the hand of man, the work of man. Mm-hmm. And the white glove in masonry is to keep your deeds pure. Well, all the gloves are soiled. This is a white glove laying somewhere in New Mexico, I assume. And the caption says, Land of Enchantment and Lost Gloves. Who is from the Land of Enchantment? Albuquerque. Isaac.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Isaac's from Albuquerque, the Land of Enchantment. And the Lost Glove. Maybe the lost actor, the guy that lost his way.
It could be, yeah.
That was posted 72 days prior to this event, okay? 40 days prior to the event was the big one that everyone saw. It was a white glove, and it said, Route 66, roadkill, question mark, I hope not, Hanks. It's a picture of a white glove on Route 66, apparently.
Yep.
And him saying, Route 66, roadkill, I hope not. In the bottom of that photo, there is a cap, a round cap with the letter P written on it. Cap P.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it. It's in the shadow of Tom Hanks' right hand. Okay. Cap P died on Route 66 and was literally roadkill. That was posted exactly 40 days prior. Now, what is 40? 40 is the duration of suffering. Everywhere you see 40 in the Bible, 40 years, 40 days, 40, 40, 40. Go through all your Bible and you'll find suffering. It is what people suffer through while they're cleansed from the hand of the Lord. Okay. When you see 40, that's what that means. The day of Isaac's death, Tom Hanks posts a picture of a handkerchief, two handkerchiefs, a brown one, kind of a brown colored one, and a red one folded up in the bag up on top of it. And it says, bespoke perfection and gorgeous. Colin Hanks knows his kerchiefs. Colin Hanks is Hank's son. Okay. So what you're looking at here, if you go to Colin Hanks' website, where he has a kerchief or a handkerchief company, that's what he does. Apparently he made a custom or a bespoke handkerchief. And it is a brown handkerchief of an RV in the high desert. You can tell from the flora and the fauna and the Native American motif of a sun on there as well. So it's high desert, American Southwest, and a camper. Mm-hmm. And on top of this handkerchief is a red handkerchief folded up. Now, red scarves have been used in conjunction with the death of prominent people for quite a while, right?
That's right. Yep.
We know that.
Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
There was a rash of them.
Yeah. Isaac Kappy, or someone that looked like Isaac Kappy, was seen at the Camper World in Belmont 2 hours after the event, allegedly. Allegedly. I'm not saying he was. I'm saying that's what was said. That's what I heard early in. Why would you have a bespoke handkerchief made of a camper? Of all the things you're going to put on a custom-made handkerchief, why would you put a camper on a it's just a weird thought. I could, picture your dog on there or custom one. I don't know, something. Maybe I'm reaching here. Maybe I'm looking for something. But that just strikes me as something that's odd. And then the red on top of that in front of the camper, in front of the truck. It's literally, if you look at the picture, May 13th, Tom Hanks' Instagram feed, the red is in front of the camper, like it's running into it.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
That was posted on the day Kappy died. Now, all of this wouldn't mean much of anything. You can say it's a coincidence, unless Isaac came out and called out Tom Hanks and said, Tom Hanks, buddy, yeah, you're a pedophile.
Yep.
Tom Hanks is one of the people that Isaac called out. Within Hollywood, if you're watching this show, you know, if you watch my channel, you know, or all the other great researchers out there, there is a Hollywood network of people who practice sorcery, who practice the darker arts. Hollywood, the wood of the holly tree that wands are made of. They're weaving the magic. There are people, and I'm going to have a show very soon with somebody who was a producer in Hollywood. And I asked him the question. I said, where does the rubber hit the road? Where does these stories of this sorcery and witchcraft, how does it get into the material that we see on TV? He says, I'll tell you exactly how. We had a pre-interview a couple nights ago. And I'll tell you what, man, it's going to be awesome. But we're going to come out with that. This is real stuff. There are people, there are sorcerers, there are black magicians, there are evil people in Hollywood that utilize the sorcery of the prince of the power of the air and project the United States' largest export, which is Hollywood, out.
Corey, we're going to have to leave it there, my friend. And I can tell you I'm excited and looking forward to seeing that. Thank you very much for coming on here tonight. We could continue to go for another 2 hours easily. There's so much material here. I just want to remind everyone that we can get you in touch with Corey if you go to his website, thephoenixenigma.com. You've also got the Phoenix Enigma on YouTube, and you've got the Phoenix Enigma on Twitter. And then your email as well was?
Well, yeah, info at thephoenixenigma.com. I don't ask for money very often. I don't really ever mention I have a Patreon, but I do. I'm a professional guide in Arizona. The summers are really slow. I haven't worked in a couple months, and I've actually taken the last 3.5 months off to this investigation. I'm not anywhere near begging for money, but if anyone would like to help out,
support the work.
And support the work I'm doing, I feel it is of value. I truly feel it's of value. You can support me there and help pay the bills. I would really appreciate that. I do want to say thank you. I have about 63 patrons that have been with me for a year now, and they understand when I'm working and what I'm doing. And to them, I just want to say thank you guys. You have really, really helped, and it truly helped. And creators out there, when your patrons stick with you through thick and thin, what it means. So to you guys, each one of you guys out there, thank you so much. I sincerely really appreciate it. But that's there as well.
I think it's worth mentioning that you've done this work tirelessly for months at a time, 7 days a week, on top of any regular day job that you've had. You've put your own money into getting the evidence out there. So once you release this evidence to the public and people can contact you, we can make this an even larger open source investigation. So for anyone who has any misgivings about any of the information put forward tonight, I encourage you to go ahead and look into it yourself, and you can see what you come up with. But thank you again, Corey, for being here tonight. You guys, I just want to say thanks, everybody, for sticking with us. We've got 3,400 people still watching the program right now. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Thank you to Carissa Hartunian and Elizabeth Cisney, both of you, for those super chats. God bless you both. And Carissa said, Isaac Kappy forever remembered. All right, everyone, have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you next time.